Thank you, LinkedIn user. Okay, so check it out, guys. Look, I got Austin, got Detroit, Stockholm in the house. I will be over there actually very soon. Kentucky, wonderful. Detroit, California, wonderful. Fort Wayne. Okay, guys, listen. Let's just start with this. Like, I'm known for buying businesses, right? And so today, a lot of my LinkedIn lives have been about investing and navigating the private capital markets. And today, I'm sort of going back to, the roots in terms of what we're doing. And here's the thing: over the last month or so, I've been keynoting maybe, I don't know, maybe like 4 or 6 different events over the last 4 to 6 weeks. It's been a pretty heavy presentation schedule. But the thing is that every time that I go to a conference, obviously I've got a keynote that I kind of pull out. But the thing is I usually interact with the crowd if I can beforehand, and I start to adjust what I think the crowd is ready for and needs to hear. Okay. I got Columbus, got Dallas, got Frisco, Riley, North Aurora, Illinois, Chicago, sweet, Michigan. Thanks, guys. So here's the thing: is owning a business is simply the largest lever out there. Okay, and when it comes to buying businesses, there's sort of like, are you just trying to get out of your W-2 and buy a company and build an asset, or are you trying to build something kind of to the next level, right? And I think that there's different ways to do this. And so I was at a conference recently, and I realized that the crowd there, was really pretty elevated. And I think this is something that I've been spending a lot of time working on over the last like 3 or 4 years, but I haven't talked about it very much. Okay. And so I want to introduce today a higher level of acquisition entrepreneurship. And that is what we're going to talk about. But first, let me just give you a little bit of an intro and how I got there. Okay. So look, back from 2002 to 2004, I used my MBA at Dolan School of Business as like a resume shield, right, to start a business. Like, I didn't want to just like go rogue on my own. Like, at least I had something to be doing while I was starting this business. And so we had licensed what's today called Real 3D. Like, we've all been we've all seen Avatar, we've all gone out and understand what this Real 3D is. Back then they didn't have it right in the movie theater, and so we had it for point of purchase advertising. Okay, and we had a number of customers lining up. We were finalists in the Olin Cup competition. We had investors that were ready to back us, and we're just sitting here trying to figure out what we're going to do with all this money. I certainly wasn't looking for a job as I ended my MBA program. But right the month that I went to graduate, okay, the people that own Real 3D, pulled the license from us. They said, listen, we want to go hang out with James Cameron, not 3 young MBA freshly minted grads from St. Louis. So we're going to go on and do something bigger than you. And so our entire startup, okay, completely failed in a single day. And I had this sort of realization, right? And that's, that MBA programs are really built to, feed the demand of middle management at large organizations. But as entrepreneurship had integrated itself into the curriculum, what was happening was that, it was really a Silicon Valley adopted style of entrepreneurship. That's what was proliferating in the programs, and for good reason. I mean, it was a wonderful opportunity for that kind of a thing, right? So I decided I was going to go out and do it for real, like without failure. And so we were going to, we went out and we hired, we acquired the software from, a proven dev team. We had gotten into one of the top 10 accelerator programs in the world. We recruited an executive from Microsoft to be our CEO, and we had oversubscribed the capital raise, right? But yet, we had betas in all these companies that you would know, but yet, 18 months later, we were completely out of cash, had no paying customers, hadn't quite found product market fit, and we're somehow able to sell, our software for, 10 cents on the dollar, right? I sort of jokingly call that an exit, but it's certainly not the kind that you want, right? So, we all, okay, want to be either figuratively or literally in the corner office. Okay, we all want to have impact. We all want to build a vehicle that can engineer wealth for ourselves and our family. Okay, we all want to be able to lead teams and be creative in this way. Okay, do me a favor. If you want to be in the corner office, okay, drop in why it is that you want to do that. Help me out, guys. Bring the fire. Is it impact? Is it wealth? Is it freedom? Is it creativity? Is it, living to your highest and best use? Like, drop it in the chat for me. Let me see what it is that your motivation is. Okay. I really want to know that. And so we all know that the best way to do this, okay, is to start a business, right? Start a business. And there's this little problem with starting a business, which is it's actually a terrible vehicle, okay, for what it is that, okay, we've got a tech issue. YouTube feed is ahead of the LinkedIn feed. Nothing I can do now. We'll check that out later. Thank you very much. So 90% of startups completely fail, right? And when you talk to people that are actually out there doing it, real entrepreneurs, what's happening is that they'll even say that they don't even think it's as high as 10% actually succeed. Okay, and I'm in that same boat. I think there's a lot of people that kind of get started that don't ever actually get there. Okay, and so this realization number two is that starting a business is actually punishment for people that don't understand statistics. All right. So here I am, 2004, right? No startup idea, no job. Okay, this is where I am. Like no real startup idea. But I realized that being an entrepreneur wasn't about, okay, a job. It was a condition. It was inside me. It was something I had to do, right? I can see some people here feeling the same. Frederick, autonomy, exactly, really good. Jamie, impact, wealth, bringing people with me, love it. Freedom, autonomy, impact, love building stuff, wealth and freedom, family, yes, good. Thank you guys. Create opportunities for myself and others, make my assets work for my assets. Great. So this is wonderful. Thank you. So it's not a job, but it's a condition. Can anyone relate with this? Okay. It's just something we have to do, right? Like you don't want to live a life of quiet desperation. So here I am. There's a road called Whiteout Boulevard that connects, the Washington University with downtown Clayton and Forest Park, one of the biggest parks in our country. And I'm walking up and down the street in 2004 with a friend of mine, Kevin, and I'm just looking at all these like Home Alone style houses, right? And I started thinking to myself, like, how come we're all trying to, copy Silicon Valley when it comes to entrepreneurship? Because they're like, none of these people, okay, were actually like internet entrepreneurs in any way. Like, what were they doing? Okay, was this, like these guys were doing like, fulfillment and paper and, like distribution and I met a guy who was doing like the piece of plastic inside the canned lights kind of a thing, right? And he seemed very comfortable. And so there was all of these sort of like hidden in plain sight opportunities just being in the Midwest right in front of me. And it's one of these things where, that was the thing that I had this realization, which is we're all trying to build an infrastructure that generates enough revenue that costs that beyond what it costs to operate. So in other words, we're trying to build a cash flow positive business, because I would argue if you don't have a cash flow positive business, if you don't have a sustainable business, you don't have a business. Okay. You have a hamster wheel of fumes. Okay. And yes, that is entrepreneurship. And sometimes you grow faster than you can, and you've got to give your equity away. But most of the time, that is not the case. Okay. So I had this idea where I realized that existing businesses, right, had product market fit, current customers, they had existing infrastructure, and they had positive cash flow, which is how they're valued. Okay. How they are valued. And so for the first time ever, I came up with this idea of, we've got these, real estate entrepreneurs, we've got tech entrepreneurs, we've got gig entrepreneurs. Why isn't there acquisition entrepreneurship? Entrepreneurship had been defined in the real estate analogy only as ground up construction versus, buying existing assets and, value add, kind of projects. So it's just merging these two things together of like, look, I want to run a business as an entrepreneur. I'm going to get in there. I'm going to operate. I'm going to lead all these other things. And I'm also going to copy, the entire largest financial industry in the world called private equity. And that's where acquisition entrepreneurship lives, is in this space. So I knew there was a way to buy a small business. Okay. I didn't really know anyone that was doing it, that was my age or anything. I kind of, so I got out there, I started talking to my professors and, my other classmates and other entrepreneurs. And guys, my MBA professors were like, "This is the worst idea, Walker, I've ever heard. Don't do this. This is terrible." Like, like entrepreneurs are like, "What? That's not entrepreneurship." And so, I ended up just having to kind of go on my own and sort of figure out this like messy, opaque, and fragmented market. And in 2006, I ended up acquiring my first business, which was a $8 million in revenue book printing company. Okay, I ran that company for 7 years and ended up getting my first seven-figure exit. Okay, and then I took that cash that I made from that exit. I went out and got more SBA loans, and I went out and I bought a fulfillment business. I bought a manufacturing business. I bought a finishing business. I bought an e-com business. Okay, I sell toilets online, and this business is the shit. Can we just say that? Okay. So why should you listen to me? All right. Well, look, in short, here's the deal. I acquired 8 companies outright. I'm a minority in 24 more. I actually have the paperwork for 2 more this morning in my inbox that we're ready to execute today. Those are a minority. I've had, 3 startups, 3 exits. I'm the founder and creator of Acquisition Lab. I'm the founder of Build Wealth, our private equity firm. I've been inside 100 transactions. And just through Acquisition Lab, we've helped over 300 people, 370 people at this point acquire small businesses. It's over $500 million, almost $500 million. Okay, in our member acquisitions. Okay, so I was a partner at Quiet Light. I was an adjunct professor at the Olin School of Business, where I created the entrepreneurship through acquisition curriculum there. And I'm also an MBA and was formerly licensed by the SEC. I have every private market certification out there. And I've been, I've written for and been featured in a lot of these places. Most recently was Yahoo Finance, which made me feel like I'd finally made it. But anyway, so I wrote this book called Buy Then Build, which is actually the best book my mother has ever read. But Forbes liked it, Wall Street Journal liked it. It's been an Amazon bestseller, I think, every single day for 6 years. So that's what's going on. And that's kind of my background and what I'm bringing to the table here. Okay. Now here's the thing. This message, okay, of buying small businesses, okay, is not new. Like, you're not on watching this stream and like your mind is being blown. Maybe it is. I hope so. But the point is this message has been leaking out, okay, out over the last 5 years or so, frankly, since Buy Then Build came out. All right. And it's become the playbook for a lot of stories out there. And there's one thing, okay, that I think we all know at this point. All right. And that's that, boring is the new black, right? Those sexy startups are fading, aren't they? And cash flow is the new sexy. All right. So if we've been paying attention, okay, what we know is if it is an unloved industry, we want to be there. If it is underpriced, we want to be there. If it is unsexy, we want to be there. Okay. And moreover, what we want to do here, guys, is that we want to understand that there's $10 trillion in baby boomer business value that needs to change hands by the end of the decade. Okay. It's the single largest transfer of wealth in the history of mankind. Baby boomers own more businesses than any other generation in history. Okay. They're retiring at like 12,000 a day right now. Okay. And no one has said that the SBA on January 1st of 2016 said, Walker, you don't have to go out and buy these huge printing companies anymore with all of this collateralized equipment. Even though you don't have any money or collateral yourself, we'll just go ahead and give you 90% of the money for your acquisition. Just sign this personal guarantee, which I was signing anyway. So 2016 was the year that I actually bought let's go with 3 businesses that year. And I started writing Buy Then Build with urgency because entrepreneurs needed to understand, okay, what was going on. All right. So here's the thing. Let's just look at some of these businesses that you can buy right now together. Ready? All right. You can buy propane distribution business, septic tank maintenance, battery recycling services, workforce development, niche funeral service companies, mobile veterinary, places, clinics. Wait, what? What? Here's one. You're welcome. I hope you're not eating lunch. you can go buy a Johnny on the spot portable business, portable toilet business, and you can clean this shit up after the ball game. And that is the independence that is being sold to you right now. Guys, stop thinking small. Stop thinking small. All right. You can think small if that's where you are, but there is a segment of people out there, okay, that are looking for more, that are looking for a bigger game. All right. And what's been happening is that the message has gone from, hey, I'm talking about buying I'm talking about buying businesses to competent people to everybody. Okay. And by going higher and higher in the funnel on social media, what's been happening, okay, is that I will talk to 20 of you this week that will say that you want to go out and buy a laundromat, and then you're going to hire a manager so that you don't actually have to go to work with your personally guaranteed loan. And then you want to go peace out on the beach. I'm not going to ask you to identify yourselves because I already know you're out there. And look, I'm not slamming this strategy all in. Okay. There are steps to what needs to happen, but understand that, laundromats are real estate and not actually a business. Okay. And so you're actually buying real estate when you just, the people that are renting it are renting the machines in it for fractions of an hour. Okay. So here's the deal. I just want to tell you something. Okay. Buying a half a dozen small companies all at the same time was the worst decision I ever made. Okay. Says, okay, the author of Buy Then Build. All right. So why is that? Let me just tell you a story. Okay. Here's the deal. Back in, let's just call it like 2018, I received a phone call. I had, reached out to a guy that I knew and respected, who had managed, all kinds of aluminum in the country, all around the Midwest, like manufacturing companies. And I called him and I said, listen, let's call him, Rob. Look, there is a manufacturing company that has come up for sale, near your house, in between where you and I live. And, I'm going to go look at it, but here's the deal. I can't manage it. And this seems to be like, it could be right in your wheelhouse. And so if you want to go check it out, I'm interested in potentially buying it and having you run it. And he said, yep, let's go. And I was like, all right, great. Now this guy, you understand, if anyone out there has read like The Goal, all right, then it's like this niche, fanatic kind of operations book. This guy could have written that book. He's that good. Okay. He's people in the know. He's really known. Okay. And he's touched a lot of manufacturing, especially aluminum, in the Midwest. And so, we ended up going through, and I knew he was going to like it. And we got in the car and he said, Walker, if this isn't the single best opportunity I've ever seen, it's the second best. And that's when I knew I was going to buy it. And so ultimately I bought this company and he ran it for about 18 months. Okay. And he calls me and he says, Walker, I'm leaving you. Okay. And by the way, guys, don't buy a business and run an ad for a manager. I didn't do that here, but please don't do that. Okay. Know who the manager is or be acquiring one with the business. Okay. Or plan to take it over yourself. So he ultimately said, Walker, look, I've been recruited. I've kept this all from you because I'm very happy, but like I keep being recruited. And there's this one, father-son situation in particular where, they keep calling and they're like, look, like I'm sure we can work this out. And he kept saying, no, I'm happy with Walker. We're doing, manufacturing, growing this business, and ultimately the dad had a heart attack. And he calls Rob from the bed at the hospital. And he says, Rob, my kid is an idiot. What will it take? I need you. Okay. And Rob said, Walker, all I could do was think of the highest number that was reasonable. And I doubled it. And then I said it out loud. And then I asked for 20% equity in the company and they said yes. And I said, you have to take that job. And he said, I did. So he's leaving me. So here's an important story. When I was a kid, I'm looking at, my dad, we went fishing or whatever, right? And so we're sitting there fishing. And while we're fishing, he says, Walker, what am I doing? It's like Sunday morning or something. I'm like, Dad, you're fishing? And he says, no, I'm killing off everyone in my company mentally. And I'm like, what? And he said, Walker, I can't if I walk in on Monday morning and someone is dead or someone quits, okay? I can't just like be a deer in headlights. I need to know what I'm going to do. So I had planned out ahead of time that if Rob ever quit or wanted to leave me, I knew what I would do. And I would call one of two people. The first one I had better rapport with and had been in higher communication with. So I call him, I get off the phone with Rob, call him right away, and he says no. Takes a couple of days, but he's like, I can't, we're not doing this. That leaves one person. Okay, who secretly was my favorite of the two, but like we just hadn't talked in like 8 years. So I call him up, right? He's actually in a great point. Like the deals are all about timing. It's a great moment for him. We go down there, okay, and we walk through the factory. And we're walking through, I'm showing it to him. We walk in, and my number one salesperson and my office manager, who are married, are standing at the door. And he is, red faced and sweating and uncomfortable. And he's like, Walker, I need to talk to you. And I was like, not now. I'm here with my friend. We're going to take a tour, but I'll check in with you at the end of the day. Okay. So I walk, my guy around. I come back and I talk to the sales rep, and I'm like, hey, what's going on? And we go in there, and it's me, the sales rep, the office manager. They're married. I'm like, what's going on? And he goes, we want to be office manager. I said, okay. Which one? I'm confused. And he says, no, we do. And some of us have been in that situation in our life where someone's talking, but like the person sitting next to them is like pulling the string in their back and it's their words coming out. So anyway, look, love the ambition. The timing wasn't right. Their training wasn't, what you would need, to give them, responsibility of the checkbook and the team and everything. They were very good at what they did in their, in their sections. But we were also having problems with the office manager at that time. Let's just say culturally. There was a little heavy gossip, a little poison starting to get spun around, some weird political positioning inside our company. And so ultimately, I brought in Steve, my guy, as the GM. And then we brought, the sales rep in on the first day and said, listen, love your ambition. The timing wasn't right. You're not quite trained up yet. You're a core part of this team. We're giving you a raise effective immediately. Okay, great. Brought in the wife, the office manager, and we said, you're terminated effective immediately. Okay. Now, keep in mind, while all this is happening, I'm also rolling out an entire software platform at my fulfillment business to 125 locations at one of the largest privately held companies in the country. And we're rolling out all new marketing campaigns and new websites at my e-com business. This was just like not what I needed right now. Okay. When you own multiple companies, you've got to deal with all of this at the same time. I'm just getting real with you. Okay. So what happened was we brought in the office manager and we said, you're terminated effective immediately. She walks out into the lobby and he's excited and saying, did you get a raise too? He goes off the rails as expected and quits. And I said, listen, I know you want to quit. Don't. All right. It's Friday. Take the rest of the day off. Take the weekend off. Okay. And, if you come back on Monday morning, I meant what I said. You've got a place here with us. Okay. So ultimately, he did come back on Monday, but he was a little different. He was slipping in and out the back door, not being part of the team, not really a team player. And ultimately, about 3 weeks later, 40% of my entire workforce pulls up in the gravel driveway and quits on me. Okay. They then went on to start a directly competing business 1 mile down the street. Okay. Welcome to small business ownership. All right. Look, I actually produced a movie in 2013, 14 called Print the Legend. It was the second ever Netflix original. But in that movie, Brad Feld, this sort of iconoclastic entrepreneur, starts the movie with like, hey, well, when you're a leader, when you're a CEO, every day something comes up and smacks you in the face. Okay. So when you're buying businesses, what I need you to understand is that, you're not buying piecing out at the beach. Okay. As much as we want to say like, don't buy a job, whatever, we look at Steve Jobs and what did he have? A job. He's CEO of Apple. Okay. Like you need to think about this as you are going to be CEO, okay, of what it is that you're buying, or you're going to have, a different business model that you're tackling. All right. And that's what we want to talk about today. Today, we're going to talk about an elevated version of acquisition entrepreneurship. We're going to talk about a 3-engine playbook. We're going to talk about 4 types of companies. And I'm also going to give you my pizza by the slice strategy that I've been working on. Okay. Let's just pause for a minute. If you've bought a business, okay, if you've bought a business, could you drop a 1 in the chat? Drop a 1 in the chat if you've already acquired a business. If you are thinking of buying a business, drop a 2 in the chat. Okay. If you are investing in the private market, drop a 3 in the chat. Okay. Are you buying a business? Have you bought a business? Number 1. Thinking of buying a business. Number 2. You're investing in the private markets. Give me a number 3. Good. John is ready to go. Good. Good. We got a number 1. A number 1. Oh, Shane. Good to see you, man. Thanks for being here. Mike Brown. Nice. Oh, I've got so many friends in the audience. What is this? You guys are hiding out on me. Great. 1, 1, 1, 2, 2. Great. Wonderful. Thank you, team. Rodrigo. Good to see you. Paul. Good. Kyle. Great. Scott. Carl. 3, 3, 3. Here come the 3s. Robert. I see you. Thanks for being here. Chris. You 2. Great. Okay. Wonderful. Okay. Great. Thanks. That gives me a read on where we are. Here's what we're going to talk about today, guys. You ready? 3. Dean. Love it. 2 and 3. Bruno. Good to see you. Okay, can't say hi to everybody, but I see you. Okay, so here's what we're gonna talk about. Look, some people just need to get started, and everybody seems to want to just skip to the end. Okay, but when you get a job, at Pfizer as a medical sales rep on your first day, you're not coming in as CEO of the company. You've got to get in the right lane and then work yourself up in an industry. When you are buying businesses, it's no different. Okay. And there are a lot of people out there that are like, look, I don't want to buy a laundromat, or, I'm not looking for entry level stuff. Okay. What I'm looking for is, what got me here to my mid career, to the place where, I've been able to be a success in what it is that I'm doing. Okay. You didn't get here by accident. And what I want you to be thinking about is, what do you want the next 20 years of your life to look like? And that's because when you buy a business, guys, when you buy a business, you're not just responsible for you. Okay. You're responsible for your employees. And more than that, you're responsible for their families. Okay. They're depending on you, right? They're depending on you. And it's real, especially in these small companies. They're people that are meaningful and instrumental to your business. Okay. You're builders of legacy, not just buyers of companies. Okay. I've got a few questions for you. I want some participation. Okay. They're coming up. Get ready. First, if you want to make $1 to $5 million, okay. If you want to make $1 to $5 million, I want you to buy a business. Okay. Guys, I've done this like 6 times. Okay. This is the game. Now, there are people out there that, they'll buy something that's, 400,000 as their deal. And I'll value it at 25 million. It's crazy, but that's not a playbook that's simple. There's a lot of luck and tailwinds that go into that, and skill. If you want to go from the $1 to $5 million pocket to 20 million, and you want to bridge that gap, I call it the 2 to 20, you need to invest in alternatives. You need to invest in the private markets, because, 95% of people that end up with a $1 to $5 million net worth, okay, they are not actually going to bridge up to 20 million and beyond. Okay. Once you get to 20 million, you can go to sleep and get to 30, guys. Okay. That is the most important. That first million is so fucking hard. Pardon my French, but we all know it. It's so hard. Okay. But once you get there, I need you to start thinking about how you're going to bridge. All right. And the stock market is not going to get you there. All right. There's something else going on. All right. But if you want to define your legacy and level up to generational wealth, all right, you are going to no longer be playing for internal rate of return. You're playing for multiples of enterprise value. This is the highest, largest lever out there. This is the adult game of this. And a lot of times, can we just agree, first order thinking, hold on, do I need to do it like this? First order thinking, okay, is sort of I want you to understand, a lot of people are introduced to buying companies with first order thinking. Hey, this, hey, that, look at this, look at that. Buy then build is a little guilty of that too. Right? There's a lot of look at the math, look how much logic, this makes logical sense, all the rest of it. But then, you have to understand that being in it is harder, okay, than we first think, okay? And when you have a first stage acquisition, I'm going to say it again, there's nothing wrong with that. I did it myself, okay? But then there's a second stage level of acquisition that's out there, right? And so I need you to think about it. And if you're looking for that second style acquisition and you're able to buy a business, this is the profile, guys. This is the institutional target. Okay. I want $1 to $5 million in adjusted EBITDA. This is not SDE, it's adjusted EBITDA or EBITDA. You've got a team in place or it's semi-built and you can actually complete it. I love that move, right? Then you've got industry growth behind you. So there's a tailwind happening in the industry. So there's somebody today that didn't need your product yesterday. Like that's a huge thing. Okay. And then it's fragmented enough for future bolt-ons. Like if you can grow organically and through acquisition, that's going to be the superpower of the largest, highest and best versions out there. Okay. So here are my questions for you. These are not rhetorical. I want you to answer them, please. Drop it in the chat. What is an investor? What is an investor? What do you think? What is an investor? All right, all you number threes. Where are we? Elon Musk is still working 24/7. I'd say so. Yeah, Tim Ferriss, 4-hour work week. I've never seen anyone that works harder. What is an investor? Okay, copy that. Listen, if you like this content, check out walkerdiable.com, check out buythenbuild.com. I send out a newsletter every single week. It's about 2,500 words every week. We've been doing it for 6 years. And it's something that, I put my heart and soul into every single week. And it's a great way to get, kind of the big fat paper on, small business M&A every single week, walkerdiable.com. Okay. One who puts money into an asset expecting a return. Don, I think that is actually an enabler. That's good. But, someone with insights who wants a return. Yep. Person who deploys capital for growth and return. Awesome. So look, you guys got it. It's someone who says, look, here's money, give me a return back, right? Capital allocator. Good. Here's one. What is a family office? Okay. What is a family office? Drop it in the chat. All right. So Bruno says on an investor is capital allocator, putting capital to work for an expected return. Exactly. Someone who brings value to the business. I love that, John, in terms of an investor. Okay. What is a family office? Investors don't buy a business, entrepreneurs do. Good. That's very insightful. That's good. Provide one form of value in exchange for another. Someone who puts in money with the expectation of return. Listen, there's a slight delay on the chat, so I do want you to be dropping these in. I'm just going to go ahead and move us forward. All right. A family office, let's just say, is a large investor. Okay. As an institutional investor, they've actually been saying, look, we can deploy capital just like a hedge fund. So why don't we do it ourselves? And they have a lot of money, 50 million plus usually. 50 million is like the small end. And they often will pull together and they take a very institutional approach of being an investor. Okay. What is a private equity firm? A private equity firm is a company that raises money, raises capital, and with the plan of investing it by buying businesses. Okay. They buy businesses. Investor with tons of cash. Exactly. That's what a family office is. So a private equity firm raises money and then deploys it to buy, private assets, usually businesses. Okay. Now, what is an independent sponsor? My guess is that most people on this call don't know what this is. So I'm going to give it a minute to allow the people that are at full speed on this feed here to answer it. Drop it in the chat. I will probably answer it before I start seeing the answers, but I want to see, does anyone know what is an independent sponsor? What is an independent sponsor? Okay, guys, independent sponsor is a private equity firm with no money. Okay, it's someone who is able to find deals. It's an entrepreneur. Okay, not the investor first of a private equity firm. It's the entrepreneur first model where they say, okay, I'm going to go find the deal. Yeah, someone who Andy says an independent sponsor is someone who buys a business with other people's money. Yeah, similar to a private equity firm, but they do it the other way. They find the deal first and then they bring it together. Okay. So look, when you're a traditional operator, you're buying a job, you're managing operations day to day, you're earning a salary and bonuses, all the things. Okay. When you're an independent sponsor, you're buying a platform. You build leadership teams. Okay. You earn a carry, fees, and equity upside, right? You grow through bolt-ons and strategic capital. The exits are optional. Okay. Good, Jonathan. I see you. So like the point is G-Day. Yeah, great. Perfect. So like the point is like we all say like, oh, we don't want to buy a job, don't want to buy a job. That you can go this direction, but this is not you jumping out and becoming, Steve Jobs or, your version of Steve Jobs by buying a company to operate. There is a difference here, and this is the financial markets. Walker, why on earth do you not talk about this more often? Guys, the reason is because independent sponsorship is the number one desired job at Harvard MBA program today. Okay. But saying that you want to be an independent sponsor is like saying that your career, that your career path is to move to Hollywood and be an A-list actor. Okay. It's a very difficult, kind of path to go. And you need to have the resume to be able to pull it off. So again, you might not be at the level yet where you're ready to reach for that second mountain, but you might be there. And if that's the case, this is what or if you aspire to fast forward to this is where you are. Okay. How do they do it? The best independent sponsors are going to blend this path together. Okay. Let's see if I can get this copy for you. Early on, they lean into operating leadership. Okay. Setting the culture, the KPIs, and the growth moves. And over time, they elevate into capital allocator, board level strategic control. They structure themselves out of the day to day as fast as possible, which doesn't necessarily mean like as fast as you want. Okay. But this is the kind of thing where we're building a business that's much larger than the business that we're acquiring. Okay. It's a bigger vision, and there's a lot of capital that goes into it. Here's the independent sponsor value stack. Okay. You're going to find the platform, then you're going to structure the capital, and then you're going to build that enterprise value. Okay. From there. So it's opposite of private equity. We've seen this. We saw this moments ago in the acquisition entrepreneur, but it's very applicable to the independent sponsor model. It's just coming at it from a different way. So today, ladies and gentlemen, I want to share with you the 3-engine playbook for second stage business leadership. Okay. And that's what we're going to talk about right now. By the way, we have been buying some of these companies. And so let's see, Mike Brown is on this call. Mike, I saw you here. If you want to drop, let's see, Mike, why don't you drop we have a deal drop coming up next week, Wednesday, where, we're buying a whole bunch of stuff and we're inviting investors to come along and invest alongside me, as we have been doing. I've raised about $22.5 million over the last 10 months in deals that we are acquiring together. Okay. So, it's one of these where if you want to be looking at the deals that, I'm investing in personally, then, jump over to buildwealth.com and sign up there, or jump into the portal. Mike Brown, if you could drop in some of those links into the chat as I get into this. Okay. Okay. Moving on. The 3-engine playbook for second stage business leadership. Here we go, guys. Here it is. These are the 3 engines. All right. It's leadership, it's capital, and it's strategic expansion. This is how value is created. All right. And I built it as a pyramid because I could. All right. So I like pyramids, and I think you would too. All right. So here we go. We have Chris Hoffman in this picture. Also his brother and his dad, who are equally important people, but I'm going to talk about Chris because I was just with him a couple of weeks ago. We were both keynotes at a conference, and he lives right here in St. Louis. I have this wonderful story that I like to tell about Hoffman, and that right after Chris and his brother bought the company from their dad, we used Hoffman at the house. I saw that what happened was the HVAC guys were showing up, and they were like, look, everything's fine, nothing's broken. And I was like, what? And they're like, yeah, but we have this membership plan, and we want you to pay us every month, and you get discounts and all this stuff. And I was like, oh God, I know this playbook. I know the brothers just bought it. Like, you're just trying to get me on membership, right? And ultimately I bought it, and my wife came home and was like, you bought the membership? And I was like, yeah, it seems like a good deal. She's like, they've been trying to close me for 2 years on that. Anyway, it's good. Mike just dropped that in. Great. Buildwealth.investnext.com. That's where our deals are. And then you've got the registration link for next week if you want to join us as well. Good. Thank you, Mike. Mike, why don't you drop your calendar link in there too, if people want to jump on and talk to you about building wealth and what they want to do there. So Here's the deal. Here's what Chris and his brother did. Okay, the first thing they did was they bought the business from their dad. Then they went out there and they built a institutional level management team. Okay, they brought in a professional president. They focused on internal systemization, team building, cultural alignment, SOPs, getting everything dialed in for growth. And it was all about professional management to prep for multi-market expansion and growth. Then, okay, they were also deploying capital. Okay, they built a $6 million shared services facility in 2013, which I will share with you is right next door to the wine shop. Don't ask me how I know that. Okay, but then they expanded the operational support and added 300 new jobs. They also expanded into the Nashville market. They diversified services from HVAC into other home services. They got into plumbing, electrical, appliance, and they acquired Ferguson Roofing right here in St. Louis. They are growing organically. They are growing through acquisition, and they are growing through capital deployment. Okay. When they bought this company in 2016, it was 9 million in revenue. Chris just told me the other day, $165 million in 2025. That is exceptional growth. This is the playbook, guys. Okay. And Chris has said that I can, bring my cameras in and start shooting a mini doc of Hoffman here soon. So we're going to tee that up and we're going to get inside that story. So Walker, this is so amazing. Oh my God. I can't believe that I almost missed this. How do I apply it? How do I do all this? Okay, guys, here's the deal. There's 4 types of businesses worth owning. Now, let's see. 4 types of businesses worth owning. All right, here we go. Ready? There's category leaders, growth market plays, transformational assets, and platform companies. All right, we're going to talk about all of these one at a time. Category leaders, all right, are defensible. Oh man, my slide is off. Okay, they're defensible and they have dominance in markets, right? So you're talking about niche industrials, regional logistics, engineered products, right? So VDCI, okay, was bought by 2 self-funded searchers, which is code for independent sponsor, okay, at this level, all right? They bought North America's largest mosquito services firm, okay? And they acquired it in 2011. They did 14 smaller acquisitions, okay? And in 2017, 6 years later, there were 47 million in revenue. If you want 47 million in revenue, drop a 47 in the chat, okay? And if you don't, then we will take you out back and shoot you. Hey, Mike. Okay, and what they do is these VDCI, they actually they have all the government contracts for mosquito genocide. Okay, so they kill mosquitoes at grand scale, and they have all the government contracts, and they are the category leader in this. And by the way, the first time I saw this slide, I thought that the drone was bigger than the truck. So I thought they were bringing out the choppers or whatever. So, that's great. Okay, so then we've got the growth market plays. So this is like unstoppable macro trends that are occurring. I see your 47s in the chat. Yes, good. I do too. So 47 million coming up for Rodrigo. Okay, so we've got, healthcare, energy, behavioral health. All of these things are these macro tailwinds that are at work. Okay, unstoppable trends. Pets has taken that space right now. And Mid-America Pet Food was acquired in 2014, sold 6 years later. Okay, they expanded distribution channels and capacity from 1,200 retail outlets to 8,000 retail outlets, and had a 700% increase in EBITDA. Guys, if you want a 700% increase in EBITDA of your business, please drop a 700 in the chat. Just help me out. I can't see the audience. It's the only way I know you're there. So, okay. Like we've got all these people getting 47 million in revenue. I love it. 50. Ava's going for 50. Let's go. This is amazing. Okay, great. Mid-America Pet Food. Okay, so you've got tailwinds. By the way, Bill Alessandro recently sold his company and has been growing in the pet space as well. Friend of mine. So 700. I see you. Thank you. Okay, so now we've got undercapitalized gems ready for leadership. Guys, this was really where I spent a lot of my time, was in this section right here on all the companies that I bought, okay? And this is maybe my favorite example. This is Lucas Phillips, okay? And if you have not seen, our viral video on YouTube, I went through and did a tour of Lucas's facility. Lucas went through Acquisition Lab, which is our accelerator, our program. And what he did was if he bought a small company that does the interior, mostly the carpets of classic cars. Okay, so if you've got a 1983 Porsche 911, and you rip the carpet, or your seat rips, or the fabric's coming off your ceiling, you call Lucas, okay, or you order from Lucas's site. And when you look in the background, what you see there is a bunch of like manila pieces of paper with certain cutouts that he had to extract out of the brain of like a alcoholic employee before he could fire him. Then he went out and did 4 additional acquisitions, and he digitized all of those manila cutouts. So now he has the only codex, okay, in the world of all of the classic cars, digital renditions of them, and he's got lasers that cut them on the machines from all the companies that he bought. Guys, this guy is 27 years old. He's done 4 acquisitions, okay? And this is like a winner take all category. All right. He's going to have $5 million in revenue by the end of the year. Okay. 27 years old. Who wants 5 million in revenue at 27 years old? Me. Okay. Next is platform companies. And, guys, the big thing, this is different than the platform company I talk about in buy then build. It's very different. This is not the acquisition entrepreneur, okay, model. This is the independent sponsor model. This is the private equity model. And platform and private equity is this perfect combination of, a tailwind growth industry that allows you to grow organically with a fragmentation enough for you to be able to do acquisitions in that space. And I'm happy to share, I already gave you this example, okay, with Hoffman Brothers. I think Chris and his brother have nailed it. And it's one of these where you've got acquire, bolt-on, and scaling all at the same time. Places like specialty manufacturing, B2B, tech-enabled services are really good spots for this. So let's see. I think I know what the next slide is. Everything's broken. Yeah, guys, look, I admit to you, I have personally broken every single one of these engines in my life. The reason I know what they are is because I have broken all of them one at a time. Okay. I've bought companies with like no disciplined leadership because I'm the leader. And I was too young or not ready or whatever. I had the wrong strategy. I made bad acquisitions a couple of times. Chaos crushes culture. I gave an example of that earlier today. And, no capital. I think a lot of times, like when I was getting started, and that's kind of what I'm talking about. Like when I bought my first company, all I had was the money I put into it, right? Like I had like 100% of my entire net worth and a personally guaranteed loan that was, 10 times whatever small balance I had left. So I went all in, and there wasn't a whole bunch of external capital. And the game of, acquisition entrepreneurship is you get to be your own person. It's entrepreneur-centric model. It's not an investor-centric model. So I was able to use my sweat in order to build that business back to what it was, build up equity, and end up selling it, my first 7-figure exit 7 years later. So it's still a winning story, but man, it is, entrepreneurship is a grind. Okay. It's a grind, right? Forgot why the slides are. Moving on. So I took the model, all right, and I put it in a chat GPT. And I said, hey, chat GPT, here's the model. What businesses should I be telling people to buy right now? Now, look, the reason I did it that way is because I want to be very clear. I will never tell you what business to buy, okay? I get 24 people every single week pulling me aside saying, Walker, what are you buying right now? Walker, what should I be buying right now? Walker, what business should I buy? Is this a good business? All these other things. And we really get into engineering your success at Acquisition Lab. Check out acquisitionlab.com if you want to, go through the most impactful accelerator in history on buying businesses. Now, acquisitionlab.com. So anyway, the point is like, I put it in and I said, what is lining up as great platform industries right now? Niche healthcare services, precision manufacturing, specialized B2B services, infrastructure modernization, regional logistics, and supply chain management. I support all of these. I think that this was a really good output by ChatGPT, and I think that these are really good industries to sort of be looking at right now. But again, it came from AI, it came from OpenAI, not from me. I'm not telling you to buy these companies. I'm just saying those are good ideas. Okay. Here's the 5 questions if you're doing second level acquisitions. 5 questions I want you to ask yourself. Is this business big enough to make an impact worth your time? Okay. Or are you buying too small? That you can't buy too small in this game. Does it have room to grow both organically and through acquisition? Okay. Or are you going to, get into a grind? Can your leadership multiply this business, not just maintain it? Okay. I'm looking for, you know, when you join a company, you are like becoming the leader of that company. So as much as you want to look at your spreadsheet and see like, is there no risk in this business? There's risk in every business. And the risk is you are this new CEO. You are the new sponsor of that company. You are the one responsible. Okay. So make it happen. What do you bring to the table? Number 4, is there enough operational leadership already in place, or can it be professionalized quickly? I actually love it, guys. Look, turnkey leadership is great, but I actually love it if there's a few cards missing from the perfect hand, right? So it's sort of like the game of money. Like if you've got 3 cards and you can make the other 2, that's how you're going to create exceptional value. If all 4 or 5 cards are already there and tight, you better have everything else dialed in, right? So, and then will the market this business play in still matter 10 years from now, right? I think that's obvious, but the big thing I'm always talking about is, are you on the right side of technology? Or are you being threatened by, technology? So one way to maybe think about that is just to be, do you like buy with things that can really be levered by AI, and buy things that are very outside of AI. Okay. Just to pick probably the largest example in the room right now. Okay. So if you've read Buy Then Build, the acquisition entrepreneur prep funnel that we use, all about putting yourself first before the opportunity. And we also have a growth through acquisition funnel that we bring out at Acquisition Lab. But, as you grow through acquisition, this is the strategy. Focus first on your business, the core competency, the industry trends, and the strategic direction in order to build that second mountain for you, in order to live not only the most engaged life, but have the impact that you want to have, okay, in your life and in your career as an entrepreneur. Okay. And so what I would say is the biggest thing I learned by buying like a big portfolio of companies and trying to be Warren Buffett way too early in my career through this AE model is, I don't want you to be a light bulb. Okay. I want you to be a laser, because your intention and what you focus your mind on and your time on and your effort on is what grows. So, look, as interesting as it is to say like, hey, I'm going to go out and, buy a dozen small companies this year, I think that's really cool. But you better have the right person with the laser beam, and you better have the right business model that you're laser beamed on. Okay. So look, if you are enjoying this content, I have a newsletter I send out every single week. By the way, I'm not wrapping up. We're bridging here. So I've got something else to throw down if you're still here with us. So can't see how many people are here on this platform, but it looks like a lot, which is great. So I have a newsletter send out every single Sunday. We put a lot of time into this, guys. We produce a video every single week. We've got a 2,500 word article we send out on small business acquisition every single week. We now have almost 60,000 subs on this. We're about 6 years in. Keep the list very, very clean. And I'll even throw a curveball here, because why not throw a curveball? I started a new newsletter about 6 weeks ago. And we started with about 2,600 subs. And we are, I think the newsletter today went out to about 45,000. I'm not going to go so far as to say it's like the fastest growing newsletter in the world, because it's not. Like, I think 1440 is, but I have never seen a newsletter grow this fast personally. It's all on private market investing. You can go to wealthstackweekly.com and get exposure to that. But again, if you sign up with my main one, from time to time, you'll get invited to deals that we've got, events that we're having, Wealth Stack Weekly types of things, etc. If you want to buy a business, guys, we built Acquisition Lab to be the single best. Oh, thanks, Corey. Single best accelerator in the world. And I'm just going to say that we did this by focusing on two things. One is member to acquisition ratio, and second is member reviews. Okay, so in other words, if members aren't leaving good reviews, we're not actually providing value, and we want the bullseye clients. And so actually, if you apply to Acquisition Lab, I'm not kidding, there is a 70 to 75% chance that month that you apply and you would like to join, and we are telling you that you're not actually a good fit. And we're not doing that to be assholes. Okay, we're doing it because 37% of our members have acquired a business, and we are looking for the bullseyes that we can help. We're not trying to separate people from their money. And it's $10,000 one time for lifetime access. We get no kickbacks. We get no, we don't invest in your company. We don't take equity. We don't do any of these, funky things. And so, it's 100% buyer focused, and we help buyers buy businesses because I've been doing it for 19 years. Obviously we've got, the whole process, and you'll get introduced to all of our frameworks. So, that's something that we spend a lot of time on. And our mission there is to create the largest vetted community of educated and prepared financial buyers in the country. And I'm happy to report we've done it. Okay. Thanks, Corey. That's great. Great. Mike's dropping in, well stacked. So yeah, look, Acquisition Lab, I think I shared this. We now have over 1,000 members. We have a 37% close rate after 8 months, and we're approaching $500 million in member acquisitions. I was just in New York, I think, last week, and I found out about 5 acquisitions that I didn't know about. So that was awesome. Okay, so that's what's happening. Now, look, we're going to change gears here a little bit. Where can we find these links? Will they be in the description of the video on YouTube? Yes, Shanae, thank you for suggesting that. They will be, obviously I'm rattling off a lot of calls to action. I just want you to choose your own adventure, dropping a lot of, hopefully, knowledge bombs on you here. And so, yeah, we'll make all those links available. walkerdival.com is the best way to get into, just the weekly rotation, and you'll get made aware of all of our stuff. So investing equals passive portfolio building. So look, the thing that I have learned over time is that, look, we've worked with 1,000, acquisition entrepreneurs in the lab, and everyone is always asking me some version of the same story, which is, Walker, how do I buy a business without making a mistake? How do I reduce the risk, in buying a business? I'm actually going to tell you that right now. If you want to reduce risk in your acquisition, drop risk in the chat. I need to see you. I want to see that there's activity here because I can't see the audience. Help me out with the energy. Drop risk if you want to learn how to buy a business without any risk. Okay. So here's the thing, team. It's a bit of a curveball. Thank you. Chop? Is that your name? Awesome. Chap? I can't tell. I need my other glasses. John, risk. Good. Here we go. So here's the deal. If you look at the textbook of risk reduction, the answer is not by finding the perfect business. It's by buying the right business for you that you can add value to, but you're still not eliminating all of that risk. I see you, Mike, Dan, Eric, Jeff. Thank you. Thank you. LinkedIn user, Scott. It's diversifying. When I went out and bought 6 companies at the same time, what I thought I was doing was diversifying, when instead what I was really doing was stacking risk on top of each other. So I came up with a different model, and I started in 2013, and it just sort of evolved over time. Where, look, when we do deals, when we buy a business or, a piece of real estate or an oil well or whatever it is I'm buying, there's always a capital stack. All right. This is a lesson for a different time. If you don't know what this is, don't worry about it. But the point is there's senior debt, then there's second position debt, seller note, pref equity from investor, whatever it is, common equity, right? So just roll with me here if you don't follow this. The point is every single person in the capital stack is not only providing a different value, but they're in the deal for different reasons. The entrepreneur, the acquisition entrepreneur, is in it for the common equity. They want all the upside. That's where all the appreciation is. That's where I put my sweat in. I build the business. I get the appreciation. I get the big win. The senior debt is that senior secured lender that has all the collateral, that's first out, and we send them money every single month, with principal and interest. We're paying you back and we're giving you interest that I get to expense in exchange for all that money you gave me up front. Does the bank want the common equity? Not, I mean, I guess they would want it. Why not? If I can have it all. But the point is what they're getting is the cash flow. They get all the collateral and the cash flow. And so when you look at it, everyone is participating for different reasons. Okay. Different reasons and getting different value out of it. And then I realized this was also how I was investing. As I was investing over like 10 years in the private market, I made certain investments because I believed in the upside and I wanted capital appreciation, right? Or I wanted a preferred equity position, or I wanted the risk adjusted returns of like real estate, or I just wanted pure cash flow, over collateralized cash flow with my credit funds, right? That I've been using to thank you, Egbert. That I've been using to replace income so that I can keep more money inside my businesses to reinvest and make them stronger. Okay. So I am playing in all of these different things. And so I ended up, saying, well, look, the buy then build is the active piece. Acquisition entrepreneurship is the active piece in the private markets. But then, just as we've all been taught, like, go get a good job and take a percentage of your salary and stick it in the stock market, the private capital markets are very similar. It's basically buy a business, have your active business, whether you buy or start it, okay, and then take any extra income that you're getting from them and sure, put some in the stock market. I mean, ultra high net worth individuals keep about 20, 25% in the stock market, but 75% is in the private markets. They're buying credit funds. They're buying, private real estate. They're buying private equity. Okay. Little dabs of venture capital here and there. Okay. And so that's how my model has been set up. And I call that the wealth stack. All right. That's the wealth stack. And that's how I've been doing it. And so I realized every time I went out and I was buying a business, I was buying the whole pizza. And it's like I was in charge of the whole pizza, but by peeling off and making smaller investments, okay, in highly rigorously diligent deals with sponsors that I know, like, and trust that can get inside the deals with, I was able to take on a pizza by the slice strategy. And I didn't have to buy the whole pizza every single time. And this was actually, I found a very efficient way in order to leverage other people's sweat and other people's focused, attention and effort and expertise and edge. Okay. And edge. So I started investing, say, with AHM as an example, in real estate because I know the St. Louis market. They rehab entire neighborhoods all at once. I can get to their entire portfolio in 15-minute drive. I've been in the room with them on deals as a GP, and I see how they work and I see how they think. And so they became, probably the recipient of more of my capital than anyone else in anywhere, I think. And so I've invested in almost all of their deals. And I may or may not have partnered with them to bring out the legacy fund next week, which is going to be dope. But anyway, I have built a pizza portfolio, okay, by making these smaller investments. And so instead of buying one big pizza where I have all the responsibility, I'm making equal investments as if I was making additional acquisitions, okay? So I'm accelerating. So the equal investment as acquisitions is like, look, when I buy a company, I'm always putting skin in the game because, guys, look, as much as you want to like do a deal with no skin in the game, and that will happen for those that are in the game. But if you need that to succeed, I'm just telling you, pro tip, you will not. If that is what you need in order to succeed, like you're trying to get struck by lightning and win the lottery, it happens. You hear about it, but like it's not a good strategy. Okay. So if you put skin in the game, deals get done, and they get done in like 2 to 3 months, guys. All right. So it's the best way to go. So I always put in between $1 and maybe $400,000 every time I acquire a business. I started doing the same as I built out my, limited partner portfolio, and I was accelerating growth while passively, significantly faster and with higher collateral and much more involvement, participation, and frankly, fun than, being in this sort of like sterile stock market. And so I'm still in the stock market, not like that, but I'm every day a little bit smaller. I started Build Wealth. Okay. And this all started because about 14 months ago, I sent an email out to our list. And I said, look, I know I'm the buying businesses guy. But surprise, I also invest in real estate. Do you want to invest with me? I'm investing with my A team, and we just had like a $1.35 million piece there, and I raised $4.5 million in 4 hours, and that's when I understood that I had a responsibility. I had the ability to pull us together and build a family office, or as it would be, the first community office. And it's my job to go out and be the independent sponsor and find those deals and, bring in my guy from Goldman and do the diligence that we can't do as LPs, and then work special deals where we get the family office discount. And then I split it. Like we basically split it, and my team gets half and you get half. So our investors are getting better deals than if they went directly because of what we're negotiating and the diligence that we're doing. So I started Build Wealth. If you want to see the deals that we're doing, go to buildwealth.com. It is for accredited investors only, but you'll be able to see what I'm buying. We've closed on a number of things. Some are still open. I was the first and second largest investor in the video game production company that has the new James Bond video game coming out. We have a little piece of that open right now on our portal. We've got 700 cash flowing oil wells under contract right now. We've got about a little over $4 million already pulled in and locked into this. It is still open right now. We just closed on a manufacturing company that in Dallas that we're taking public next year. Our investors are already up on paper as of what day is it? Yesterday. 2x since September. So that's going well. And then just here's like a sense of, the returns that our deals are, I'll just say, projecting, right? So this is internal rate of returns. The first deal, we're, what month is it? We're about 14, 15 months in, and we're tracking at, 49, 50% internal rate of return. Second one is on track. Third one is all these are on track. Okay. The fourth one, 11 to 14%, is actually our credit fund, where we're giving out cash flow every single month. So, if you've got 100,000 and you want to make, $1,000 a month, that's a great place to go. Over collateralized real estate. Guys, I'm not trying to sell this. I'm just trying to show you this is what we're doing. And this is where I'm putting my money. I've personally invested in all of these things right alongside our investors. In some cases, I'm the single largest investor in all of these funds. So on average, we're getting a 24 to 37% internal rate of return. So this is, if you want to bridge that 2 to 20 million, this is the game for you. Okay. So, guys, how are we doing on time? Okay. Little over an hour. Thanks for being here. Jump to walkerdieble.com if you like this content. Would love to see you guys there. Okay. I've got a question. We are wrapping up here. So let's see. What if late in the career and PG isn't a viable option? Too much to lose with not enough time to recoup and spouse not on board. That's a big one. If your spouse is not on board, that's tough. Is it better to go small? Okay, take a loan, or go big and look for investors to fund? Okay, I think that, Scott, there's sort of a decision tree. I love the question. There's a decision tree that needs to happen here. Okay, and that is, ultimately, if the spouse isn't on board. Look, let me say it like this. There's a decision tree here, guys. All right. And number one is, it kind of depends where you are in your career. I have a lot of people that, I get on the phone with, and, they are mid to high executives, and let's just say, publicly traded companies or very large private companies. And, I forget the number right off the top of my head, but I think if you're making over, 400,000 a year, you're in the top, 0.1% of wage earners, on the planet, or even in the United States, which is harder to hit that, right? So going full rogue when you have a job that is a cash cow and they're just dropping, stock on you, you might want more in your life. But the truth is, going the pizza by the slice portfolio is often the better play, because if you just work the wealth stack system for, a disciplined 8-year period of time, and I've mapped it out, and that's what I think the time frame is. You can be 100% completely financially independent in 8 years with an 8-year plan, building the pizza by the slice, replacing your income, going for, risk return adjusted, returns and also, upside if you invest right. And, so that's how you make that bridge from 2 to 20 million. I think that other times, as I've described before, entrepreneurship is a little bit more of a condition. Like if you're like, I'm just going to blow my brains out unless I, own my own company. Well, obviously, I'm a big proponent of buying companies instead of starting from scratch. Either way, you're building, right? So just understand that, we like to say things like, don't buy a job. You're buying a job. You're buying a job. That's active. Buying companies is active. Okay. It's just a matter of what level of activity, okay, you are, wanting to jump in at and where you are in your career. If you're, like me, when I was, 30 years old, yes, I had a pot to piss in, but I took that pot and I sold it and put the cash into a business and took a huge personally guaranteed loan and went to work. Right. And you just like, there's a little Han Solo going on. It's like, don't tell me the odds. I'm going into work. Actually, the odds are pretty good if you buy. But anyway, so I think that there's a decision that needs to be made, but also it needs to be in alignment with where you are and what your actual goals are. And so, if you can get to financial independence in a very disciplined way faster, then go buy your company or start your company. That's going to make a lot of sense for a lot of people. Other people are just ready to go, or they've spent their whole career making that other person rich. And they realize that I spent my life and my blood and my sweat and my brain and my attention and my discussions with my spouse all about that building that person's balance sheet, that person's brand, right? And now it's my turn and I want to do it on my own. And I'm willing to take the risks involved and do whatever it takes to succeed. That's the kind of, blood, sweat, and attention that you need in entrepreneurship. I'm not saying one or the other either, guys. They work together. Okay. It's just sort of a one foot in front of the other. Okay. So thank you so much for being here. I hope that you guys got some knowledge bombs. If you did, drop bomb in the chat. I would love to feel that applause from you. And then I'll just wrap up with sort of the series of calls to action that I dropped on you, depending on what it is that you want to do. First and foremost, go to walkerdeibel.com and sign up for the newsletter. This is the M&A newsletter we send out every single every single week on Saturday. It's the fat paper that goes out. And other than that, if you are wanting to buy a business, consider Acquisition Lab. Go to acquisitionlab.com and apply. It is the single highest performing accelerator on the planet. Next would be, if you want to see the deals that we're doing, go to buildwealth.investnext.com or buildwealth.com and just sign up to see what deals I'm investing in and the ones that I'm, bringing out. And I think that's it. Then there's wealthstackweekly.com if you're interested in, joining that newsletter as well. I think that is like all of the things that I'm perfectly working on. Bomb. Nice. Thank you, guys. I appreciate that more than I can say. Thanks for being here. Thanks for bringing the energy. Thanks for bringing the chats. Can't thank you enough. We'll see you on the inside. Have a great day.